I don't know. I'm not even gonna say like everyone should be able to wear what they want, but
But should they, Jack?
um, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anything in between, welcome back to the Rambling Podcast. Today, we're going to just do a bit of a watch through of an interview with the lady that we previously did a reaction video on about her being refused a lift from, was it Lyft?
It
The
was
company was
left.
called.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to watch this podcast and see what she had to say for herself as she goes into it in more detail, and we're just going to pause and react to it along the way.
How you? Good morning. You good?
Good morning.
What's going on? Nice to meet you.
Hi,
How are you? What's happening? Hey, King. How you, brother? You good? Nice to meet you.
I got a question straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And this is definitely something you don't see a lot here. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
from what we gathered from our comments last time we watched the initial interview, was that this is actually not common. Women and people in general of this size is not actually very common. I guess in the 500 pound, I don't really know the pound stuff, but apparently 500 pounds is not common. Whereas you see obviously bigger people, you don't see people of this particular size. And I guess what obviously is even more alien to us is the fact that people of this size, and I don't know how this would definitely come across, but what she is wearing is definitely not something you would typically see someone of even a bigger size in the UK wearing, right? You would see typically a lot more coverage, I guess. And that's not to say that obviously I'm going to tell people what they should wear and what they shouldn't, but it's just, I think it's, I don't know, the confidence is crazy out there. Like the lack of I don't give a fuck out there is just something I don't think we quite see in the UK.
Maybe not as much as, but yeah, I do see people from time to time that are, let's say, overweight wearing things
Yeah.
that I don't know. I'm not even gonna say like everyone should be able to wear what they want,
But
but
should they, Jack?
it's that it really is their choice.
No, it
Honestly, is
absolutely
their
is.
choice.
It
Do I
absolutely
have a
is.
reaction to
No.
it in my head when I see something? I'm like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
why are you wearing that? Like, you're hanging over the sides of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a reaction in my head. I keep my opinions to myself. I
Yeah.
don't.
No,
Oh,
absolutely.
my father is the worst for that kind of shit. If my
Yeah.
dad, and I don't agree with this, by the way, people watching the podcast, but if I don't know if it's old age as well, because he's in his like late 60s now. If my dad sees someone in public who's visibly like very obese, he'll say it like out loud. But I don't know if it's because he's also going deaf and doesn't realize how loud he's talking.
Yeah.
Like, but he'll say, "Oh my God, look at that," and I'm like, "Dad, shut up!" Like,
like a child that doesn't understand social consequence.
Dude, but that's my dad all over, and that would go into another interesting podcast of parents who potentially have undiagnosed ADHD and autistic type traits, because he has them all, including really poor social cues and stuff like that. But anyway, let's carry on with what we're at now.
Let's push it.
Got it. Yep. This the only seat y'all got?
What you want? What you need?
There's one more. A bigger chair or something.
Cause she already little.
Ain't no fucking way, dude.
That's what I'm talking about.
Ain't no, bro, they brought out the couch.
What you want? What you need? The whole fucking booth, bro.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Just Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Lauren Rosa hanging out with us as well. We got a special guest in the building.
Who we got?
We have
Pause.
Big Dank.
Yeah.
Love that dude's voice, man. I swear I love
Oh,
that
really?
guy's
Oh, okay.
voice. Like,
Cool.
yeah, I think there's some like American accents that
Sound good for radio,
they just
right?
sound cool. I don't know where like he's from, like what part of America, but yeah, I really like his like just the way he talks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we can take away from this is the sheer inconvenience of being the size right there and then. It just means that like normal average size things are not going to suit you, right? And that's a product of your own doing, right? So like you make the world around you just infinitely harder to navigate.
Yeah, and
because of
and
your
how does
your size, I guess.
Yeah, and how something I was thinking about earlier, just earlier on in the day before we even got together to do this, was what impact do individuals like that have on the medical system, and how accepting should we be of that as a society? If, for example, you've got people with things like cancer and life-changing illnesses that need the treatments and the care,
Yeah.
and then we've got other people who it's more of a self-inflicted
Yeah.
reason that they need medical assistance. Like and chat and anyone watching, I'd be interested to hear your comments on this. Where is the line drawn within society with that kind of stuff? The people that have self-inflicted medical illness and the people that have either a life-changing accident or they have cancer and things that are beyond our control. Where is the line drawn?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think this is definitely more of a problem we have here because our system is way more social. In the sense that our taxpayer money goes directly into the NHS, it goes into from a national insurance. This is something very specific to us, isn't it? The idea that, well, overweight people are taking up time in the GP, they're taking up time, whereas if everyone obviously was more healthy, there would be less struggle on our services. But I think in the States, it's not so much of a problem because it is a capitalistic sort of enterprise, right? The medical system is a business over there, right? That is like, it's big business, big pharma. That's a whole thing over there. Whereas, it's over here, it's a more socialized system and definitely comes at a price when I guess, people aren't looking after themselves. So it's interesting to see those differences.
Yeah, definitely. There's also like the barrel roll effect in terms of once you're obese, you're then setting yourself the barrel roll effect of other health problems. So it's like it doesn't just tend to be that the issue is you're obese. It's also that now because you're obese, there is this problem, there is that problem, and the solution to a lot of those problems that come with being obese is losing the weight. But that's a whole that's a whole thing in itself, isn't it? Like support systems for people to lose weight when we live in a society where you go into the supermarket and food is pumped full of crap. There's not so much there is readily available whole foods and more nutritious foods, but they're more expensive. The cheaper and, let's face it, tasty naughtier foods are actually cheaper to get. And so you have this more of a new age of people that are probably living off shit day to day instead of getting whole and healthy foods and looking at nutrition a bit more.
Absolutely, mate. I ain't gonna lie though, when you said barrel roll, all I could imagine was someone pushing her down a hill.
That is exactly what like jumped into my head as well. Because if
It's
she fell
terrible.
over or fell over on a hill, it would be a barrel roll.
God damn it. Right, rolling.
Can I before you roll?
Go.
The only other thing in my head is the initial clips, like the Jurassic Park theme tune came into my head. Well, it must be something with the way she moves, because when she walked into the podcast on this video, I had the kind of like just like some kind of plodding along theme tune in my head.
It's the intrusive thoughts, man. It's ridiculous.
It is
right?
the intrusive thoughts, yeah.
But that's it. And I don't think, like, here's the thing: we are saying our intrusive thoughts out loud right now, but I don't think really in our hearts, I don't think anything comes from a place of malice. None of this comes from a place of like making fun of people like this. I think it's partly just dark humor. It's partly just social conditioning, I guess, because we are just like a hierarchical being, hierarchical sort of creature, and it's just it's easy to make fun of people that you see struggling, I guess. Sometimes this is definitely something you look at when you see things like Jeremy Kyle back in the day in the UK, Jerry Springer, these kinds of things.
On that recently.
There was definitely a sort of like a prey on people's natural instinct to make people to make fun of people to make themselves feel better, and I don't think me or Jack are definitely unaware of that sort of like paradigm, I guess.
Yeah, there's obviously the humor there from this podcast, but as soon as I saw in the comments that several people put in the comments that she's lost like 50 pounds, genuinely really happy for her. That's great if she's making progress and wants to change. At the same time, if she wants to stay the same and live the lifestyle that she's living, that's also her choice, man. It's nothing to do with me. If she's happy, then she's happy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you, Big Dang? How you feeling today?
I'm good.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
When we first heard about your story, there was a lot of jokes made. Everybody made jokes, including us. But when I heard you was a rapper, I was like, Why not have her up here and have a conversation? See if this could, I don't know, help something.
Like
Right?
your
Make
music.
the most of the moment.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Where you from?
Detroit.
Detroit. Tell us about. Well, no, this is your question, Nibby. Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead. This is what you do. This is what you do.
For
Go ahead.
people that don't know, a lot of people, of course, you're from Detroit. You're a rapper from Detroit, so you're highly known in Detroit and a lot of different places. But you got publicized recently because of an incident that you had with Lyft, a Lyft driver. You ordered a Lyft, and you could tell
Well,
it
I
from
ain't
there.
want to go there. Just wanted to ask you. You always say to explain for the people who don't know who Big Dank
No,
is.
but people will have to connect the dots.
And you were in Deb's house as well.
I was.
How was
On
that?
what?
Deb's house.
on Lifetime.
Vodka, Deb Inton.
all right.
How was that?
It was good. You know, it was a learning experience. Yeah, it was a learning experience. It was okay.
Did it help or hurt you in any way, like your music?
I mean, I'm doing the same thing I was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, it was okay.
You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to shit on nobody.
It's cool.
Because you had a couple moments on there, and I saw
I
one clip where you
did.
Like the thing is as well, like I think it's easy to forget that she is basically absolutely ridiculing this guy for refusing her a lift and potentially destroying his whole career. She seems like she comes across like such a genuinely nice person. You know what I mean? Like I don't think she comes across as a bad person, but
No,
I think
not at all.
I think a moment of clout chasing, you know what I mean, is like overshadowing a lot of that, you know what I mean, and potentially obviously ruining some other guy's life. It's a shame, man. Like I don't know, just
I wonder
something that
how
popped
much
into
of-
my mind.
I wonder how much of an effect it has had on the. I don't imagine it's had that much of an
I
effect.
hope it
on the
hasn't.
guy.
Well, apparently Lyft let him
Maybe.
go. Well, I mean, Lyft let him go. Apparently, this is what I've heard.
Oh. I feel like there's an element
yeah.
with big companies where if something potentially negative gets into the media, then they're almost obliged to
Yeah,
take action and do something, or
like-
else there'll be uproar. And it's like,
yeah, just PR,
yeah,
damage,
yep.
damage management, that kind of thing. Yeah.
We're really teary-eyed. And
Yeah, I was
she
teary-eyed
tough, or
because
was it like what was that about?
Well,
I feel
Deb's,
like-
explain what Deb's house is. 'Cause
Yeah, so
people
Deb's
that
house
don't know
is
what
a
it
show where she brings Deb Antony, brings
Waka Flocka's mom.
Waka Flocka's mom. You know, she's discovered some of the biggest and the best, Nicki Minaj, a bunch of people. But she brings the rap girls on and she tries to coach them through building their careers. And then at the end, there's one that she picks and she focuses on. You didn't make it to the end, but you were on the show.
A lot of people said I was being difficult, but I feel like I was put in a difficult situation. I was in a store I could fit nothing, you know. So when I finally found something that I could fit, it was like, oh, that's not a boss. Take that off, you know. So I felt some type of way, you know.
That's something I never considered either. Like finding clothes for her size must just be like a chore, mate. You know.
Again, I thought that in America it was a bit more accessible in terms of the sizes of clothes that they have.
Yeah.
It's probably better now in the UK than it was in the past.
Oh god, it was pretty bad here, right? Like, I guess like
you wouldn't be
yeah.
able to find large clothes going back to the 90s, maybe.
yeah, I guess.
Or they wouldn't have been as readily available.
But is that just because it's accommodating for what the masses need, right? Like
It's
you're
a
not
business
gonna
opportunity.
Yeah, you're not going to accommodate for people. Like you're not going to make plus size clothing if you're in a culture that is fundamentally like regular size, right? You know, so
Yeah, but then
is it the people that follow? Like, is it the people that influence what's being marketed, or is it what's marketed that influences the people, right?
I would imagine in this case it would be
Yeah,
that the people getting bigger over the years influenced somebody within the clothes and marketing industry was like, there's an opportunity here to reach a wider audience and get profit. Literally a wider audience. Pun
Fuck's sake.
intended. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, man.
But yeah, I just feel like I was put in a difficult situation, and I was seeing everybody able to fit things, and you know, I'm getting frustrated because I can't find nothing. I don't want to make nobody mad. I want to, you know, look good and stuff like that. So that's why I started crying.
Is she saying that she couldn't find clothes from what the show provided for her, or is she saying that she couldn't find clothes to fit full stop for the show?
I
I'm a
think
bit-
she was looking for her own clothes and she couldn't find any.
See, again, I don't
Yeah.
have any sympathy towards that. And
Okay.
it's kind of similar towards the same card she was playing about
The Lyft
the
driver,
whole
right?
Lyft
Yeah.
situation. Like, I don't understand how someone's supposed to be sympathetic for something that is self-inflicted. And although I'm very aware that, like, to get to this size that she is, I personally believe that there are psychological issues at play in terms of they could potentially be like past trauma
Yeah.
or any number of things that led her to developing this style of eating habit. But at the same time, if you can't fit in clothes that the shops provide, then you need to shop somewhere else. It's not their problem.
Yeah.
That's a you problem. And I think that people that just in general, all throughout the spectrum, need to take accountability for that kind of stuff.
It definitely seems like a mentality that is pushed on them by society, though, at this point, right? There are
Yeah.
movements behind this now. Not very quick movements, but there are movements that
Mm,
are going in a direction, right? I feel like the fat acceptance one is definitely not as prolific as a lot of movements that have to do with innate, un like qualities that you can't control. Like obviously there's movements for being of a minority. There's movements for I guess autism,
yeah.
different conditions, right? There's movements in all sorts of areas that have to do with things that individuals can't control within their lives, right? Whereas I guess fat acceptance isn't really having as much of a go at it, because fundamentally it is that,
Mm,
isn't it? Like it is your doing. You're not your fatness, right? That is
yeah.
something that
Yeah.
you can gain weight, you can lose weight, and like I don't
I
know,
would
man.
I would say it's like even with things like, let's say, like behaviors like and cognitive, I don't know if it would come under cognitive issues like ADHD and stuff like that.
Mm,
Yes, there's the understanding that there are things within these conditions that make it harder for you to potentially fit into society.
yeah,
But when it's related to behaviors, I do believe that ultimately we can assert a lot more control over trying to improve upon those behaviors. Yes, we might not ever be at the level of what society deems appropriate, but there's normally
yeah,
always room for improvement and ways that we can improve. But I think what seems to be happening in more recent years is that there's almost this like childlike mentality of I can't help it, and therefore you have to mold your whole world around me, and
mm,
everything has to be about me, and you have to make it comfortable for me. And it's like, well, no, it kind of works both ways. Yes, like I want to be understanding of those individuals and I'll be as understanding as I possibly can. But also, if it's an individual that's clearly not trying to make any change or trying to improve anything or, find different ways and continue to educate themselves, then it's like, well, no, if you're clearly sitting on your ass expecting everybody else to do everything for you, then
absolutely,
my
man.
sympathy levels, diminish after a while.
I think that's a brilliant point, to be honest, man. But
Mm.
yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah, we're not going to watch this all 38 minutes of
No,
this interview.
no
I
worries.
think that's, yeah, it's interesting because obviously people were obviously looking at that one particular clippable moment of pulling the couch out. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
obviously get through a couple of minutes of this interview with her.
Mm.
Supposedly she has lost a fair bit of weight. Obviously, great stuff. We want to see,
Yeah,
people
really
bettering
awesome.
themselves, helping their bodies, helping their fundamental health. Um, but yeah, and I can't imagine we'll have too much more to say on this particular um
No,
story. But all I can say is thank you to everyone that obviously checked out the initial reaction. That got absolutely for us that was huge. So thank you to everyone that obviously commented on that. We
yeah,
hope you like.
appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully you like this one as well, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, if I was just going to say, if you've got any other video suggestions to react to, that would be muchly appreciated. If you're somebody
Mm,
who likes to watch these reaction videos and are in the know of the latest news, do leave us a comment.
absolutely. Brilliant, guys. Thank you and take care.